Another example of open-close principle is actually familiar to any Laravel developer. You cannot edit anything in vendor folder. So whenever you have a package, you use that package feature, and you cannot really go to vendor and change some package code. So I will show you an example with our own package Laravel invoices, which just creates the PDF invoice from the parameters you pass. So by using that package in your controller, you just specify the buyer, the seller, you add invoice items, and then you make the invoice. So these are all the features that are closed for modification. So if, for example, you click buyer in PHP Storm, it will lead you to vendor folder, vendor, Laravel daily, invoices, and all of that, and you cannot edit that. For example, if you try to edit, PHP Storm will tell me that it's not part of the project, and I could potentially edit that anyway, but it's really dangerous because if you update the package like do composer update, then you will lose all your changes or even cause the conflict. So to avoid that, you can extend the package with your own functionality. For example, make a child class from some class of the package. And as an example, we have a class invoice item in our repository, and invoice item basically adds the item to this. So each line is an item. And by default, it doesn't have a description line. It has only the title. I've just refreshed the page. So it has the title, but what if you want to add another line of description? So in the blade file has only item title, and in the controller, invoice item has only the title. So if you go to invoice item again in the vendor, there's title, but there's no description, and you cannot add a description function immediately in the vendor. So how to do that? Extend that. So you can have that invoice item class, which is in vendor, but you can create your own class. For example, in whichever folder you choose, app, classes, invoice item extended, I called it. And it extends that invoice item, and then you can add as many functions as you want. So for example, description, which will just save the description into a property and then show that in the blade. So if we change our invoice controller to use invoice item extended, and change invoice item to invoice item extended, then we can add description, some description, for example, and then add that description in the blade, something like this, so item description. And now if we refresh our page, the final PDF will contain some description here. So this is how you can extend the closed source of the packages. So again, it's open-closed principle, closed for modification, but open for extension.